Welcome to Fahoody Adventures, and here we are with another vlog. Today we're doing it a little bit differently because what I wanted to talk about today was my experience moving to Barcelona. How has it been? What are the good things? What are the not so good things? How the experience has been. So let's start. So as you know, we've recently moved from Oviedo. Oviedo is the northern Spain, or the northern part of Spain. Oviedo is much cooler, less population, or lesser population than Barcelona anyway. It's a decent sized city. Barcelona is a much bigger city. So there's that equation. Moving from Oviedo has been different, I would say, because Oviedo, the temperature is much more temperate in the sense that the weather is not very cold in winters and not very hot in summers. Whereas in Barcelona, I feel the weather takes us 180 degrees. So in the summertime, it gets really hot, like sometimes dry heat. And in the wintertime, it does get really cold. So that's the difference that I've actually noticed straight away from where I was before in Oviedo to here. The weather is, in fact, sometimes it actually reminds me of the weather in a lot of different places where I've lived in, Pakistan, one of them. Not so much Dubai. The weather here gets quite hot. So the weather is a huge difference for me. Apart from the weather, the next thing that really shocked me, actually, because I haven't actually been in regions where they speak in Spain Spanish as the main language, but another language, let's say Euskera or the Basque Country. The language here was a little bit, initially, it took a little bit of getting used to of. For example, in the rest of Spain, when you see signs when you're leaving, it says salida, here it says sortida. It's not a hell of a lot of difference. You do tend to learn little words or little things in Catalan. For example, generally people here say gracias as well for thank you, but they also say merci, which is a Catalan word for thank you. Sometimes they say bye, which is adios. Sometimes they say adieu. Yes, it did take a little bit of getting used to. Initially, when I came here, I felt like maybe, it's going to be a lot more different because of the language, but it hasn't been very different. But there are things that you need to get used to of. And if you're learning Spanish, in my case, which you probably would know that I am, it does sometimes, when you're listening to conversations or a stranger comes up to you and talks to you, or if you're going to a shop to order something, you're going to your local bank, they might start talking to you in Catalan first, because there's a lot of immigrants that look like me who speak Catalan as well. So if your language or your sense of understanding of Spanish is not not native like, which is totally okay, it will take a little bit of time to getting used to then you wanting to say, look, I only speak Spanish or English. So that's the other difference that I saw. But then again, Catalan is different to Spanish, but I would say it's not very different. It is different. So with time, as you listen to it more, you hear it more, and if you already know Spanish and it has a mixture of Portuguese, Italian, and different languages, you're going to find it really interesting. And what I end up doing in my office is sometimes I'm guessing what my colleagues are talking about, because I have a basic knowledge, or actually an intermediate knowledge of Spanish. So language is definitely one big factor that I see is different to the rest of Spain in Barcelona. So the next point is public transport. Fortunately for me, because I work in a local company in Barcelona, I hear a lot that the public transport here is not good. Especially from my colleagues and local colleagues. They say, oh, Barcelona public transport is terrible, we don't like it. But I have lived in New Zealand. In New Zealand, we didn't have any underground metro system or fast train. So for me, it's quite fascinating anyway to go to a city where they have public transport. In Dubai, they did where I lived. I actually lived in Ras Al Khaimah, where there wasn't any public transport, like zero. I quite enjoy taking Barcelona public transport, and in my view, the system is really good. I get a monthly card, which is about it's about 40 euros, because I live in zone 3 of Barcelona. So each transport section is divided into a zone. So you have to, if you want unlimited card, you can get for zone 1, it's about 20 euros, zone 2 is about 30, and zone 3 is about 40. Don't quote me on that. It's just what I think the prices are. I think it's a fantastic thing. A lot of times I go to work meetings, or we meet outside work, or we have to go to places. I prefer to use Barcelona public transport, and here I have to say the FGC system is amazing. I'm sure Barcelona Metro, which I haven't taken a lot, but I've taken a lot of FGC train because I live in Terrassa. I find it amazing, efficient, on time, all the time. In the mornings, they have trains every 10 minutes going to Barcelona city center. I think it's a fantastic system, but I do hear reservations because where I work is a little bit out of Barcelona, so people do complain about public transport, but at least there is a bus that goes there. It does go once every hour, but that's at least you can get to work on public transport. Personally, the public transport here is really good. It's very well connected. You can go from one place to another within your monthly, in my case, 3-zone card, and it's amazing. I think it's fantastic. The next thing is the city center. I have to admit, there is a little bit of discontent in Barcelona in regards to tourists and I guess over tourism. If I say there isn't over tourism, I'm gonna lie. There is a lot of tourists, and it does get really, really busy during summertime. If you're a local and you're living within the Barcelona city center, I'm talking about a center, it sometimes gets in your way. You sometimes, it can get in your way of doing your daily activities. You're gonna also have heightened prices of things if you live in the city center. So yes, the tourism I think is unlike, I'm not sure what others think, but for me, it's like unlike anywhere else in Spain. There is tourism. I went to Canary Islands during peak season as well. I saw a lot of tourism, but in Barcelona, there's a high and huge tourist traffic. But in here, I also want to say that having tourism or tourists is not a bad thing. It brings a lot of money to the economy. All I'm just saying is just stating the facts. What I think is my opinion, that there are a lot of tourists, more than, let's say, in Oviedo, where there are hardly any tourists, and the tourists that came to Oviedo were mostly Spanish. So there is that difference. And then also the flip side of that is with more tourists means there's more international cuisine. You find cuisine, which I didn't find in Oviedo, for example, from China, from Korea. There wasn't a Korean restaurant in Oviedo. I went to a really nice Korean restaurant here in Barcelona. You get lots of different kinds of restaurants, lots of different kind of cuisine, lots of things to do because, tourists, unlike local people who only have time on the weekends, tourists usually go to places all days of the week because they're there for like a week. Well, they're here for a week or 2 weeks. So it brings a lot of diversity to the city, so which is amazing. And this connects to my next point. My next point is language, or the English language as such. I feel that compared to the rest of Spain, here in Barcelona, people speak really good English. Like the locals who live here, they speak really good English. So that's really a good point if you're new, for example, immigrant, expat, whatever you'd like to call yourself. But it can be challenging if you want to learn, Spanish, or get yourself immersed into the Spanish culture or Catalan culture. For example, I didn't meet any expats in Oviedo who had lived in, let's say, in Oviedo for 2-3 years and didn't speak much Spanish, but I have actually met expats or immigrants here in Barcelona. Well, more so expats than immigrants, because immigrants tend to live not in the center, but expats, I've noticed, they mostly live in their own in the city center much. And I met someone who had lived here for 4 years, and they didn't speak Spanish or Catalan, and that was a little bit shocking for me. But again, it depends on how you see life. If you see life as, you're just here for temporarily and you don't want to invest into the language, it's great. You can get by with English. But also, if you want to learn the language, then it can be a little bit challenging. But then it goes with everywhere else. It's the same in the places where they have lots of expats or expat communities. For example, in Dubai, they don't learn Arabic. Okay, well, that was just a real quick, short video. Just my final thoughts. I am really happy that I moved to Barcelona. I think there's a lot more things to do compared to where I was living before. The weather is a little bit challenged. Definitely the population is bigger, so it took a little more time to find an apartment or an ideal apartment. It is a little bit of competition, but overall, it's a great place. If you're coming here for work, it feels more international, more cosmopolitan. Great if that's what you're looking for. But also, if you don't get out of Barcelona center, you're gonna struggle to find really authentic, for example, Catalan or Spanish culture. For that, you're gonna have to come a little bit out of Barcelona city, which is what it should be. You should come out and look for more culture. So I think overall, I'm quite happy about moving to Barcelona. I would like to also mention some changes to Fahoody Adventures. What we're also doing is a couple of weeks, we're gonna start making more videos also in Spanish. So we're going to continue the weekly English language videos that we make of exploring Spain and the region nearby, but we're going to now also start doing videos in Spanish for intermediate or basic Spanish. For all of you guys who watch us from outside of Spain who'd like to move here, would really love to, converse with you and educate ourselves along the way. Also, on top of that, if you have any questions about Barcelona, you want to move here, you've moved here, any tips you want, we're here. Just pop your question down and we'll be more than happy to answer. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe our video. Until next video, see you soon.